All right, we can go ahead and get
You're kind of
started.
like in the bottom right corner of your screen, man. Like all you. We see you from like lip up.
Yeah,
Me?
Andrew, your camera's really.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, you
like
talking about toy?
it's like
Yeah.
catching you right here. We can see from here up.
No,
All right.
just point your camera down.
Yeah, just that
And
much
that's
better.
much better. You had a
Look,
light ring behind you too?
Yeah, it's in front of me. You can see that out the window.
No, I actually turned it back on. We see more of your face that way.
it's on. It's on.
No, it's on.
Oh.
I might have to go to my normal spot.
No. You good? You good?
You're
Just do
okay,
this.
but like we couldn't see your whole face. We saw you from about here up.
Tilt it down just a little bit.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna tilt it down.
How was your week?
Hey, that's perfect right there.
All right, cool.
Pretty good.
That's perfect.
All right, let's go.
But you know, Chelsea's grown
Pissed at
now.
my dad.
What?
I'm absolutely pissed.
Why?
He didn't tell me. He had a boy. I tried 3 times. He ain't- No. This is how you do it. Piss is the word.
He said, Dad, I was just trying to make my car go faster. And that's when I knew what I had on my hands. And I was like,
Hey,
okay.
man. You got you a little engineer, man. You got you a little engineer.
I think you need to put that like a little disclaimer in there. When you say putting on a mask, you're not talking about COVID related, like protection.
No. You're talking about the
No,
common term.
I got where he was going, but I'm just saying nowadays people may misconstrue.
Right, you got, yeah.
It's called a representative.
Here we go.
The representative.
And don't throw shoes at nobody.
Oh.
Yo, playing this story.
Oh, we will. Oh, we will. Not today. Maybe on Dad's After Dark, but not today. Dude, really? You gonna bring that up on the first episode? At any given time, my kids ask me for something. Yes, I can afford it, but I tell them no, just to keep them in practice of hearing it. so that they will be successful and they will have something to rise up from when they get older, and they tell themselves yes more often than I do. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of This Is How You Dad. This is the first episode of 2020. Happy New Year, dads. How you doing?
2021.
You know what? You know what?
It's been that kind of year.
We all need some help sometime.
Hey, I
That's
feel after the Capitol got stormed, you want to go back, huh?
How about it's been a hell of 10 days, man.
No, I do not want to. That's the kind of year it was. It's still lingering, and after Cuckoo Day, C-O-U-P Day, no, I do not want to go back. Still, even to this day, no.
I can't trust you if you can't get the year right.
Trust me, okay? Trust me. I'm a superhero. No, how was y'all's New Year's?
Good. Set some fireworks off in the backyard. Stay away from everybody.
Y'all was shooting them into the lake.
Had to put a couple in the air, man.
Look, I was so tired. I pulled out the fireworks, hid them from my sons, and passed out. I woke up, everybody was asleep. I'm like, okay, good. I can say this for 4th of July.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask if they got shot anyway.
Nah. This episode, all we're gonna be doing is basically recapping 2020, man. I don't think anybody alive right now can say that they've experienced a year like this last year. So I wanted us to just talk about things that we learned, things that we saw, maybe there were some good things that came out of 2020. Maybe there were some things we just never ever want to see again. Um, ugh, I, I I don't even know where to begin with this year, with last year. Um, ugh.
Let's start at the beginning. COVID hit. You had to adjust.
I can tell you the first negative impact to me and my family due to COVID was we missed going to see Lizzo at the rodeo, man.
Ooh. Hey, you ain't seen enough of her at the basketball game?
Hey, I'm with you though, man. My family are big Lizzo fans, so
Right.
we were looking forward to that.
Yeah, we made the chance to rap, and my son was absolutely amazed at Chance's performance. That was actually his first concert. And I think
that's cool.
Yeah, when you can go see a really good artist as your first concert.
So now he's hooked on concerts, and now he can't go to a concert.
Can't go.
No.
Same thing happened to me. My first concert was the Fat Boys at New Edition.
I thought you were going to say the Fat Boys at Astroworld.
I missed that one. I was at the arena theater, going to the circle.
Here's the thing. I wasn't supposed to be there. What it was, my older cousins told my mom that they would take me to Astroworld, which got me out of my mom's hair, and also got them free tickets to Astroworld. Mm-hmm. And their whole intent for going to Astroworld was not to take me around so I could have a good time. It was to go to that concert. And so I found myself, watching backsides until one of my cousin's friends finally lifted me up and put me on his shoulders, right, to see the concert.
Hey, had you told your mom about that before today?
No, I just came a snitch.
Hey man, look, be glad you're not in one of them coaches where you ain't never too old to catch a whooping.
Right.
Yo,
my first concert was Diana Ross. Actually, she let me on stage to dance with her. She gave me a kiss on the cheek. I asked my mom; she'll tell you the truth.
I'm gonna ask her too.
I'm gonna ask her.
Yeah,
I'm gonna ask your mom, then I'm gonna ask your dad.
Yeah, ask her. Right here.
Mm-mm.
Right there.
Have you watched it?
Not for 2 days.
I'm trying to think what was my first concert. I don't even remember. It was probably something at the Miller Theater.
My first concert that can be spoken of, because my mom took me, was Michael Jackson Bad. And
that's some concert.
And it's like it's a music concert, a movie, and a magic show all wrapped into one, man.
How old were you?
I can't remember. Whatever year Bad came out, that was when I went.
Elementary school.
It was single digits.
Yeah, it had to be 80 something.
Yeah.
Huh.
My first concert was Kool and the Gang.
Ooh.
They came to Canada?
Now, actually, you know what? At that time, actually, we were living in the United Arab Emirates. My parents got jobs over there. That's a long story, but we moved over there.
They came to United Arab Emirates?
Yeah. They came. So what you did over there, because it was always just hot as crap, you went to hotels, essentially. There were 2 hotels there. One was the Hilton, one was the Intercontinental Hotel. So you went over there primarily to use their gyms, use the swimming pool, eat at the restaurant, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And keep in mind, this is like this had to be 1980, 89, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So they came through, and because it was Kool in the Gang, my parents went and got tickets, and I'm not sure how I got roped into going, and my brothers and sisters didn't, but it was cool.
Hey man, that's the oldest kid privileges, man. They like, look, we ain't spending money on them three.
And I
Right.
remember I wasn't supposed to say nothing for a minute too. But
Yeah, look at your parents getting you lying. Yo, real talk though, I just found out that I can't remember who it was. There was this guy who did a concert in COVID, and he did it in an arena that usually has thousands of people in it. But what he did was he limited the audience to 100 people, and he put them all in bubbles.
Hmm.
And while he was singing, he was crowd surfing on top of the crowd on their bubbles in his own bubble. And I was like, "That's okay. That's wasn't one of us."
Yeah. Okay.
but
Mhm.
but I was like, "Okay, I see you. I see you." Um, yeah. So right when COVID hit, it was like right when business was supposed to be starting back up, and because typically in IT, businesses don't want you in their business from Black Friday up until like Mother's Day because they want to make sure everything's working. They're selling a lot of stuff. Black Friday, Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day. That's their really, really big thing. Uh, but then COVID hit, and lots of projects got delayed. I mean, trips. Had trips delayed for months. I had clients that had inventory just sitting in store, millions and millions of dollars of inventory just sitting in stores waiting to be installed, and we couldn't even get the okay to go and get it put in. So it hurt, but one of the things that I realized last year was that as I'm watching a lot of people really, really struggle financially, I just realized how blessed uh, I am and have always been to find that niche or that niche where I'm always uh, covered and protected. Um, it I know a lot of people based upon who's in office, they go through ups and downs financially. I've been blessed enough to where year after year I'm pretty much in a better position. And I mean it took a pandemic for me just to realize that, because as I live in a neighborhood that's, I got the hood in front of me, I got the hood on the side of me, I got the hood behind me, and you can see um, the tolls on them firsthand, evictions, left and right, all types of stuff. But I'm mad at myself that it took COVID for me to realize just exactly how blessed I was. Um, and that's one of my things that I'm trying to do better at, not needing negative stuff to happen for me to realize exactly how blessed I am.
that's
Oh.
that's fair enough. I say for me, this year was, or this past year was not my hardest year by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, you fellas know, like, I've gone through some years that were very, very lean and that were a challenge. I've gone through years where I literally did not have work. I'm blessed that this was not that year and did not have, like, a lot of, like, the struggle that came along with all of that.
Hmm.
Pretty much I remember when we transitioned from, like, working in the office to working at home, we did it pretty quick. Like, we went into a meeting, had, like, a department team meeting. Then my manager went off to another meeting, and literally about 15 minutes later, like, 15 minutes into her second meeting, we all started getting instant messages talking about pack your stuff and go home, because somebody, I guess, had tested positive after being at the rodeo cook-off. And so as a result of that, everyone just pretty much cleared out, but we were able to transition relatively quick. I'd say the biggest adjustment for me was recognizing, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty going on, and yeah, it's like, I had a household. I found myself thinking, like, okay, well, what do I do? How do I prep for this? How do I make sure that we have enough supplies when it seems like supplies are going very, very thin, very, very quickly? But I was blessed enough to where I could tackle those problems.
You tackled somebody for some toilet tissue, didn't you?
Hit them with the boat. But, I got my toilet tissue. But yeah, the fact that we were able to transition to working remotely, working from home, we're able to transition to setting up like, a schooling environment for my son who's in the 5th grade. We're blessed. A lot of people couldn't do that. So.
And you got home and realized it was 1-ply.
Yeah. At least I had it. At least I had it.
Double it up. No, you make a good point, Ian. I also too was blessed to be able to transition, seamlessly to the work from home environment. There are other people, just even within my company, whose job responsibilities don't allow them to do that. And, I empathize with them for the difficulties that may have caused their households. I also cheer them for really standing up to the challenge and continuing to do the jobs that they perform and keeping, I work for Williams Natural Gas Pipeline Company, energy infrastructure company. And so our people in the field and operations are the ones who really kept us going and kept us afloat while still having to navigate the same dangers and challenges that come along with the COVID-19 epidemic. It really also, showed me how much time I had been missing from my kids' lives by, going to work. Another big thing about my job is I traveled, quite a bit, and that all came to a screeching halt. So I also got a little itchy for not, going and seeing other places and just being at home. But it also helped me to realize how much time I was missing. And so it created an environment to kind of reconnect on a deeper level within our household, not just with, Lorraine and I and the kids, but also the kids themselves amongst themselves, between themselves. And what was it difficult? Is it still difficult? Yeah, it's still a little bit difficult. I think we've got more used to it. The monotony of, sitting in your home office or wherever it is that you set up to work from home, having kids around trying to do work and trying to help them and be basically, principal or assistant principal, if you will. And then transitioning to kind of all that coming to a close, but you're still in the same place. And transitioning to the things you would normally do in the afternoon. It seemed kind of fun at first, but then eventually, after the weeks continued to go on and on and on, it became a psychological burden. It's like, I need a change of environment. You found yourself where it was very hard for anyone to kind of find some alone time, right? Which is healthy to have that. And coming to kind of the conclusion that, okay, even in this environment, we got to find ways to change it up, which led to us doing some more things outdoors. I got into cycling. My son started riding his bike more outside with me. We took a trip to the Smoky Mountains and went on our first ever real hike. Where you had to have your endurance would be tested. So it caused us to find new ways to interact and new ways to enjoy life. And I think we've actually benefited and grown from having gone through that experience.
One thing that I wanted to I'm gonna let you go real quick, Toy. One thing I did was because I'm on a screen all the time. My sons, everybody in the house has at least one computer, and we're on screens all the time. We started buying board games, and I'm not talking Monopoly or game Uno or card games, stuff like that. I'm talking about weird games that you never heard of, to where we got to sit down and figure out the rules as a group, and then we play it. And I mean, some of these are really, really strange games, and that's what my sons want to do with me. Hey, Dad, they'll come to the door with a board game. I want to play this game, and so that's how we've kind of broken up the "I see your face all day, every day" thing. We play board games now. What's going on, Toy?
When COVID hit, I had a first grader, a fifth grader, and an eighth grader, and I always said my next career, I'm gonna be a algebra teacher. COVID came through. I learned real fast. Teaching is probably not my strong suit.
Because you can't send these girls home. You can't send them.
I was teaching it, but they weren't getting it. This.
You know who to blame?
It's easy.
You know who to blame? I blame their parents.
That's the problem. So I'm looking for a new career, IT, maybe energy, maybe with the government. I don't know.
You should have done like me and just be tech support. That makes things a lot easier.
Man, don't sleep on tech support, man. Don't do it.
You can trust tech support. You can trust them.
I can trust that. That's hard.
Trust me. Look, man. Here's the thing about doing tech support. The phone rings. You don't know what's on the other end of that phone line. It could be something that take you 2 minutes. It could be something that take you 2 hours. And then you got somebody, why you on the phone for 2 hours? I'm like, read my notes. One of the things that I was saying earlier about something my son said to me during COVID is because, like, with me, of course, in IT, a lot of the stuff that I do is remote. I can log into servers and systems. I can do things remotely, change settings. But I'm one of those people that when stuff goes bad, a lot of times I have to go out in the field. There's no way around it. If I can't get a system to respond, I have to go to it. And one day I was leaving the house and my son asked me, "Hey, are you going somewhere?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to go do this. They called. I need to go do this." And he got mad. He, as respectfully as an 8-year-old can get mad at his dad, he said, "Why does everybody always call you?" And he got mad and stormed off. And I was like, I can't be mad at him. And then I had a hard conversation with myself, because there's a lot of times I'm sitting on the couch and we'll just be watching something on Netflix or whatever, and a client will call and they say, "Hey, I need this. It's kind of an emergency." And they ask, "Are you doing anything?" I'm like, I'm not doing nothing. But I'll be in the middle of an interaction with my kids. And to them, that's like, "Hey, my time with you is not valuable." And after my son said that to me, I was like, I'm always saying to my sons when I'm in the middle of work and they come into my office, like, "Hey, I'm busy, I'm working, I'll be with you in a second." And that second turns into 2 hours. I'm always, when a client calls and says, "Hey, I need you, are you doing anything?" I'm like, "No, I'm not doing anything," even though I'm in the middle of time with my sons. And I had to have a talk with myself. I never say to a client, "Hey, I'm busy, I'm hanging with my sons." And so after my son said that to me, I made a pact with myself to, if somebody calls in the middle of blocked out time that I have with them, I can't do it. And so I've recently been telling people more and more, "Hey, you're gonna have to go to somebody else. You go take it to a shop, or try this, and if that doesn't work, call me or text me in a few hours." And one of the things that benefited me from COVID is not having many commutes, like getting that travel time back, just sitting at home, and I don't get to hang out with them while they're having breakfast. I don't get to, a lot of times I don't get to eat dinner with them because I'm out before they really up and running around, and I'm back home by the time they're settling down and in the beds watching Netflix or whatever. So I will say that my son's frustration in that moment helped me realize a major oversight because I'm looking at it, hey, y'all are living good. I'm providing for y'all when really all he wants is my face in his space, hanging out with him. And so I have to thank him for that. I can't promise it's always going to be like that because I'm spinning up a few other things now. But it definitely hit home and it landed.
Well, tell Xander I said I'm sorry. I'm gonna call this.
It wasn't you. it wasn't you.
Work-life balance is a challenge, man, and it's been a challenge for me. I guess the blessing of the situation for those of us who are still fortunate enough to have work was the fact that our commute times all practically went from whatever they were, in my case, 40, 45 minutes on a good day, to one way on a good day to absolutely nothing. I don't know, 30 seconds walking from one end of the house to the other. The challenge I've run into is kind of like you, work-life balance. I've been told I'm not all that great at it. So when I'm on, but one thing leads to the next, and next thing you know, I'm looking up and I'm working longer days here in my office than I was when I actually went into my office. Like you said, there's a family, there's a family cost associated with that. So I'd say that's a teachable moment that though you had it, I'd say I still need to learn how to better tackle that. But I had that as a learning too.
Well, another piece of that too is, when we were in the previous environment, going into an office place or a work site, what our kids saw was us dropping them off at school and then seeing us 8, 9, 10 hours later. They didn't get to see what we're doing in that space in between.
Mm-hmm.
And now they got an opportunity to see that. And, my children would kind of peek their head into my office or just come right in, to be quite honest with you, while I was in the middle of a meeting, while I was working. And they had to learn to discern the difference between dad being at home and dad working. Because dad working from home does not mean dad is at home and available whenever you need.
That was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
You see me, but I can't talk to you right now.
And look, some of the things that were happening in my office while I was on a Teams meeting, on camera, I had a bearded dragon running across my desk because my daughter came in with it and set it down on my desk and it took off across the keyboard. Just crazy. I had kids underneath my desk. My son would come in and lay down underneath my desk and do his math homework, just because he wanted to be by me, just crazy stuff like that. But also too, in those conversations when we had to explain, look, I can't just, when you need me just because you want to talk, I can't interrupt my meeting for that. Was also them understanding that the life that we're providing for them, it takes
not free.
It comes at a cost.
So they got a chance to kind of see how mom and dad make the sausage, and I hope that translates to some appreciation for what it takes to run a household and be a parent, or simply just to be an adult and to survive. I hope that really that they're learning that lesson and will hold on to it at the ages that they are now. So when it's time for them to do it for themselves,
You know,
that challenge is not something to back down from.
you just gave me an idea for something that we should do. Once COVID is over, we need to set up something where our kids go through a set of scenarios that we set up where they have to deal with it without us.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Where we just set up some not really messed up or dangerous scenarios, but real life situations that are maybe age appropriate or maybe just a few years beyond what they understand, stuff that they haven't had to deal with before.
Mm-hmm.
And we're there, but we're not there. Don't ask me nothing. I'm going to make sure you're safe, but you got to figure this out. I think that would be...
Right. I'm just here to step in if you're about to kill yourself.
Exactly. I think that would be hilarious. I think that would be...
Yeah.
See, Chip, what you mentioned is one of the things I think I kind of took as a blessing from COVID. So with my two boys, I figured that I would never have a chance like this to spend this much time around them, just us three again in life. Because, you know, my wife's a first responder, so she obviously couldn't be home with the kids. So it was me. I mean, it's been the three of us home pretty much since March. Our little one, the youngest one, just went back to school last week. So from March until now, it was just us three at home. And I kind of took it as a challenge to be intentional, to show them that when it's time to work, it's time to work. And when it's time to play, it's time to play. And show them while they're around me 24/7 every day, this is how you behave, this is how you act in certain situations. And I was actually grateful for the time that we got to spend together, because I feel like I got to learn both of them a lot better and really kind of show them by example the way they're supposed to behave. And I hope it translates back to, you know, when they leave and when things open up and we go back to the way things were, at least they'll know, you know, this is what a man's supposed to do. This is how you act on a daily basis. So,
right.
So
I was appreciative for the time.
Which one is more you and which one is more Kim?
It's a mixture, and it's a little bit both ways. I would say. I say the oldest one is more of a mama's boy than the youngest one.
Yeah.
But he has tendencies like me too. So
gotcha.
they're both, you know, both of them. They have my tendencies of being, you know, real selfish, holy roly. You know,
what? You know Ho's name Lee? Really? Oh man!
So I was for the time, and also it gave you a chance to do things that you might not normally have to do. Like I used those tools that you bought that I got in my house. I used them once or twice to, you know, build something small.
You took the batteries out. You took the batteries out.
Yeah, that's what he did.
They were used. You don't worry about what they were used.
He took the batteries out, and used them as a paperweight.
I cracked them open and I used them. So.
One of the things that I really dropped the ball on was I wanted to explain to my sons more things about economics and finance, and just show them how like I've been listening to a lot of old school Outkast, and that verse from Andre was said, when you don't move your feet, then I don't eat, so we like neck to neck. Mm-hmm. And just to show them how this system is built, when we don't work, we make the system work. And there are people that are under the impression that it's all about the upper echelon and the millionaires and billionaires and trillionaires. I'm like, no, they need us.
Right.
When we don't make it happen, it doesn't happen. So the whole system crumbles from the bottom up, and people just think that poor people are lazy. I have run into some poor lazy people, but I can honestly say a lot of the hardest working people that I've ever met, some of the happiest people I've ever met, don't have two nickels to rub together. And that was an opportunity. It was one of those things that came to my mind, and then I got real busy doing work, and I just never did it. But it is one of my planned conversations with my sons.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jason, I did, and Ian, I did increase tech support around my house by 100-fold. My youngest daughter, Alex, asked for if she could build her own computer.
Yes.
And one requested if she could get the components or help. Here's the thing, not actually all of them. She asked if she could get assistance with acquiring the components as a Christmas gift. And
is it built yet?
But if she would have just said, "Hey, Dad, can you buy me a computer for Christmas?" I probably would have said nope. But because she wanted to actually build it herself, I was all in on it. And so, make a long story short, Jason, yes, she has built a fully functioning computer. We bought the workstation case. We bought all the components. And on Christmas Day, she assembled it. And once again, she also learned, going back to setting up these scenarios and seeing how they handle it. Dad's not going to be around all the time. I was there for a period of time to assist, which really just entailed me pointing and talking. But then I had to go on and move on and helping some of the other kids with the things that they were doing. And so she had to figure it out herself. But by the end of the day, she had a fully functioning computer.
That's one.
All right.
Tech support increased around my house too. All my kids go to HISD. My oldest daughter was having problems. Hey, you need to go down there and show them what their S number is. Show them how to get teams, because I don't know what you're talking about. So tech support was on the rise all over.
Okay, to have an oldest that's older. No doubt.
Look. All I can say is that every single system in my house, I try and tell everybody, I can see what you're doing. Don't think you're getting away with nothing. I'm just not saying nothing. I can see what you're doing.
Choosing your battles.
You say what?
You're choosing your battles.
Right. Exactly. I can pick up my phone and punch in a code and log you out of your computer from wherever I am. So you don't think. There's an app I'm gonna need to tell y'all about that y'all need to put on y'all's kids' machines. It's amazing.
Yeah, I did. And that's when I discovered my kid knew how to change settings. Better than I thought he could to change.
Sir, you don't set your kid up with an admin account.
No, it wasn't an admin account. It was. We'll talk about it later. I thought you were.
Hey man,
hey, you get that from his mama. That's a party takeout.
Look,
I would never do that.
Back in the day, we had to sit in the chat room. We had to get on a bulletin board system. We had to ask somebody in the another computer science major. Now, YouTube,
yeah.
YouTube.
That's what he said. I said, "How you figure that out?" I just looked it up on YouTube.
I changed the control board on my furnace a couple of weeks ago watching YouTube.
Say, man, it's not so. You can learn how to do anything on YouTube. The only thing that YouTube cannot give you is anecdotal experience. Like, I've been in IT, 20-something years? And a lot of people think I'm smart. I'm like, no, I just been doing the same thing for 20-something years. Like, if I started your job today, I'd be an idiot. But I've been doing this for 20-something years.
Right.
But that's
I always knew you wasn't smart. I knew that was
you going to adopt the Malachi stance?
I lived with you. I have anecdotal experience.
Say, man, look, me and you was doing stupid stuff on the regular together. Don't forget that it was you that came up with the melanin factor. That was you. Look. Me and Ian would go to Piedmont Park.
Here we go.
With the dogs and on rollerblades, and so we would try. Neither of us were. He was more advanced on rollerblades than I, because I had an accident and stayed away from rollerblades. I was getting back on them and getting back okay at them. And we would go to the park, and the way Ian would decide if we were going to try something or not was if it violated the melanin factor. And he said, "Do you see other black people doing this?" Nope. We're not gonna do it.
Melanin factor. Think of it the real, like, in a nutshell. Think of it like Black Spidey sense. Something's going on, like, and it's like, a danger. Spidey sense is just ringing for Peter Parker, like, danger, danger, danger. So he looked to the right and he see, like, Dr. Octopus coming at him from the right. He looked to the left and see Electro coming from the left, and he knows where to go.
Hey, did y'all see the footage of the black guy standing in the Capitol?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
he was ignoring the melanin factor.
I don't think he had it at all.
Look, just because you're black does not mean that the melanin factor always applies. But
his well-being has been deactivated.
Jason, I just want to make sure I got something right. So you're wearing a shirt that tells me to trust you, but it took a Canadian to tell you about the melanin factor.
Look. Hold on.
Americans, I'm recording. What's up? People do. Third Ward ain't it?
Look,
ain't stop making them after Third Ward, man.
He gave a name to it. Okay, I already knew what it was, but he's the one that put the name in the formula to it. I was already obeying the rule.
Okay.
Just didn't understand why.
Yeah, it was just one of those innate things. Being from Acres Homes, it's just what you do.
The shirt does not say 100% intelligent black child for nothing.
Trust me. That's all it says. Trust me. Dang, I forgot about the melanin factor. I did
not think we were going to work that into a 2020 recap.
and also, I guess a first take on 2021 as well.
Yeah, that too. I say one other thing that I guess I kind of wanted to touch on was, like, as far as, like, COVID life adjustments, was there were a lot of teachable moments in 2020, in my opinion, at least in my household. And so one of the things that, like, I found challenging, because I did not necessarily know how to address this, was with all of, like, the racial unrest that happened in 2020. I mean, we hadn't seen that level of, like, not saying it did not exist, but we had not seen that level of racial unrest since, like, I think the 60s. I mean, that predated all of us, pretty much. But here it was, like, in wake of everybody, like, getting shot, and then acquittal after acquittal, and then, culminating with, the Breonna Taylor raid, and then George Floyd murder and Ahmaud Arbery's murder. Everybody was at home, so you really couldn't ignore the news when it came through, and we had a lot of news on in our house, which led to an awful lot of teachable moments, a lot of questions about, about equality, racial.
That brings up a question. Let me know when you're done, Ian. I'm gonna ask you this question.
All right. And, like, pretty much the talk, right? We all know what the talk is.
But what's the talk?
All right, so the talk is, like, that talk that, like, black parents essentially have with their children about interactions with the police. For those who don't know, pretty much, like, what do you have to do to survive in an encounter with the police, right or wrong, so that you live to fight another day. You live to clean up whatever the situation may be, right, wrong, or indifferent. That was, for me, a very, very challenging conversation to have, just because primarily of like, because of who my son is. My son, he's in the 5th grade. He just turned 11, like, about 2 months ago. He's by nature, like, a loving and, like, I'd say relatively trusting child. On one hand, he's seeing everything going on TV. I know that, like, I feel a certain way about everything I'm seeing on TV, but I'm also trying to, like, maintain a calm demeanor at home, because I don't want to shield him from everything, which is just about impossible because he lives with 2 adults who watch TV all the time, watch a lot of news. We were also, like, going back and forth between Cam and I in terms of, is now the time to have the talk with him? How do you have the talk? We ultimately did not have the talk, just because we disagreed on whether it was appropriate given his age and his demeanor, and the fact that he's around us all the time. So for the most part, we can really control that. And so we opted, I guess, to punt down the road a little bit to, like, drop that on him later. But I guess my main question is, because everybody's got, like, some of you guys have children who are, like, in my opinion, too young to really grasp all that. But some of you all have kids who are old enough that they've grasped that, and perhaps you've already gone through that. I did not feel particularly, like, well equipped for that conversation. I felt very clumsy, like, in trying to figure out how would I do it. If you guys have any suggestions, I'm all ears. That's something that I think was a teachable moment, but I don't think that I taught the entire lesson on that one.
I would say this: your kids know more than you think they know. I mean, with YouTube, like we talked about, the internet and the other kids. So even if your kid's not watching, other kids are watching it and then talking to your kids about it. They know way more than we think they do. So the way I handle it is, when one of my kids asks a question, just we're talking to you straight, like you 40 years old like me. Let's talk about it. And mine accept it like that, and they appreciate it, and they're thinking, I'm surprised at it every day. Every day I'm surprised at it. My 14-year-old wanted to do a protest and organize a protest amongst her friends when everybody else was protesting. I said, no, you can't go there. COVID's there, maybe a little too dangerous when people getting arrested. All right, if I can't go there, I'll organize my own protest and have it downtown Houston. So, had no clue she was even thinking about it. But my 14-year-old was involved, my 10-year-old was involved, and my 6-year-old was involved, which was the most militant of them all. Had her sign talking about the police and what should happen to us. Whoa, all right, we can't make that sign. Let's make another one. That one.
Yeah, I know you had a question. I'll let you get it out there.
No, my question was strictly whether or not they had the talk with him, and whether or not they felt, because he was 10 at the time. He hadn't made 11 yet, right? Yeah, whether or not they felt it was appropriate to have that conversation with him. Because my plan is this, because I have kids at my son's 17, 8, and 5. So they're at very, very different stages of being able to comprehend stuff. I can talk to my 17-year-old, and I do when we're in a truck together alone. I talk to him like he's a grown man. I don't use profanity or anything around him, but I talk to him as if he's out of the house already, because that's what I'm training him for. He's got a year left under my protection. So I plan on having a conversation with them. Have y'all seen these conversations on YouTube where an expert explains something to different people at different levels of their understanding?
Mm-mm.
Well, they like bring in a mathematician or a scientist, and they explain their field to a elementary school kid, a middle school kid, a high school kid, a college kid, and somebody else that's in their field but not necessarily in their specialty. And you hear the same conversation over and over again, but it gets a little more and more detailed. So I plan on doing it in reverse, having just a blatant, flat out conversation with the 17-year-old, watering that down for the 8-year-old, and then Like Andre 3000 said, explain to me on the child style so I don't miss with the 5-year-old. Um, so that's all my question was. Did y'all have the talk, and what were the contents if y'all did?
Well, to answer your question, no, we did not. The reason we did not have that talk was ultimately I deferred to my wife in terms of whether or not it was time to have that talk. Personally, with everything that I was seeing on TV, like this is just my personal opinion. I did. While I know that he's like, pretty much everywhere that we go. I mean, my child has asthma, so we haven't sent him to school. He's been schooling at home since March when everything shut down. I pretty much got him under my eye, or I can reach out and touch him at any given time. And he's not mobile or independent at this point. So whenever he goes someplace, it's because me or Cam have taken him there for the most part. So, but I also thought that with everything going on, I mean, I know he's getting to the age where he's big he's 11, but he's a big 11. Like he's tall, he's got broad shoulders like I do. You can see he's going to be a solid young man. And I've seen a couple of kids who are older than him. Like I've seen him compared to sixth graders sometimes, and he towers over some of them. So I know that while I know he's sweet and all that, some people are going to view him as okay, well he's just a big black or a young black man who's bigger than perhaps their children may be, and they won't always see the sweet young boy that I see. So as a result of that, I was juggling. Okay, I was thinking, much as I hated the idea of having to strip him of that innocence, I didn't think that I could afford to leave that for too much longer. Maybe this is maybe Cam, sensing that I was really triggered by everything that was going on, decided that time was not the time to have the conversation, and so I deferred to him on that.
I can tell you what happened.
We're gonna have to have this conversation sooner or later. Much sooner.
I can tell you what happened. She don't want her little boy to grow up, and you're looking at it from, I don't want my man to get hurt. And the reality of the situation is, probably by the time he's 15, somebody's gonna think he's a grown man. And
I can see that.
I look at it from, if somebody approaches my child as a grown man, I need him to have the tools to respond to them and say, hey, I understand what's happening. I'm a child. Like I'm not a grown man, but to be able to have their faculties about them when a surprising situation happens, and they still have the ability to deal with it in a respectful manner, but still come out of it unscathed.
But see, it's real hard to do that. And I guess this is why I was just kind of throwing the topic out there. I'm far from an expert on how to do that, but these are some of the challenges that I felt as a parent in 2020.
Well, I can tell you, I have my son, Gabriel, will be 10 next week. He's in the 4th grade, and he is no longer innocent. That innocence is gone. He's a pretty astute young boy, very intellectual. He watches the news. It started off with just wanting him being so interested in basically meteorology that he wanted to see the weather report every morning. But as you do that, you get the other news stories as well. Right. And so he is very much attuned to what has gone on and what is going on. And he attends a predominantly white, all male, when I say all male, I mean students and faculty, private school. And given this situation, that environment, you are going to be challenged almost on a daily basis. And I'm not saying in a bad way, but when you get kind of this environment of alpha males, they question each other, they challenge each other, they see how much you'll take. There's fights over authority, things of that nature. And I'm not saying it's not a safe environment, but they're not quiet. Okay. And my son, if you challenge him or you have a different opinion from him, he is not going to just take your word or your challenge as the right one. He's going to state his own opinion, back it up, and you got a debate on your hands, right? Mm-hmm. And more so in his case, an argument. And so when all this happened, and when George Floyd initially, passed, and that situation occurred, he had a lot of questions about why is it this way? Why does it have to continue to be this way? What needs to change? He asked me a lot of very, tough questions that I wouldn't expect from a 9-year-old. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, I responded, and we had those conversations. We talked about, the history of America in a way that you're not going to get from the history books that our children learn from, but it's very real and it's just as factual. We discussed that history, and we discussed it. The point that I was making to him is, this is not meant to teach you to hate anyone, but more so learn from the mistakes of the past and mistakes that are still continue to be committed today, so that you can figure out how to reimagine the world in a better way and work to achieve that end. Because we don't have to continue to subscribe to a culture of violence, a culture of hatred. We don't have to do that just because that's the world we were born into. We can choose to reimagine it and making it into something better. And so that's where I've come from, the angle I've come from it with him. Now, he's had a bit of a bumpy ride with application once school went back, and school went back face-to-face day one with no accommodations, which is a whole nother story, right? And I think kind of set some of the foundation for some of the interactions that he had with his classmates so far during school, because my son wears a mask every day, all day to school. And the overwhelming majority of the students and the faculty don't, which creates an environment to have these conversations even more, right? Not just about George Floyd, but about the pandemic and what has become instead of it being a health issue, it's become more of a political issue. My son has had debates with some of his classmates that did not go well. And led to parent-teacher conferences about some of the things that were told to him about people who support the Black Lives Matter movement, Black people in general, that were racist. I'll just be quite honest with you. No reason to sugarcoat it. I'm not sugarcoating it with him. They were racist, and he realized that they were racist, and he challenged them on those thoughts. Think about it. You got 9-year-olds having conversations about racism.
No. You have copies of parents talking about racism. That's what you got.
Exactly.
In most cases.
And one of the comments that I made to the faculty there was, this is a teachable moment. Mm-hmm. This is happening on your campus, but it's not being addressed. We're going on as if nothing is happening in the world. Like it is all made up. It didn't happen. This is an opportunity to teach these young men not to buy in to divisive information, a divisive culture, a divisive mindset, but rather to have the courage to do exactly the opposite, which is to reject those ways of thinking and finding more ways to give more attention to our similarities, applaud our similarities, and then use that to change the world to be better, because they do really do prize themselves on training future leaders. honestly, they haven't stepped up to that challenge to seize that opportunity.
Sounds like a lesson maybe they're not trying to teach for
You know,
whatever reason.
I could.
They talk a lot about courage, right? They talk a
Mhm.
lot about courage and teaching, the boys to be courageous. But obviously, that's selective courage.
What it is this. It is easy to tell somebody else, be brave.
Mm-hmm.
It's another thing to step out that door, step out that front door and be like, it's time for me to be brave. And what I'm finding, and this is not just um a topic about racism and George Floyd and Black Lives Matter. It's a topic of anybody. Anytime you have to self-reflect and admit that not only are you wrong now, but you've been wrong in your previous pattern behavior, the things that you bought and were sold and you taught and you lived and you breathed, those things had
And are comfortable with.
and are comfortable with and you think are commonplace. When you have to challenge yourself on any topic, how you treat your health, how you treat your money, how you think about religion, how you think about race, how you think about sex, how you think about anything, when you have to realize and challenge yourself and say, hey, I'm on some BS. A lot of people aren't built to do that.
Right.
A lot of people cannot make that switch because they realize what the cost is. This is going to probably cost me my job. This is probably going to cost me my significant other. This is going to get me kicked out of the will. This is going to cost me.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to do it.
And here's the thing that's also been another big thing about this year for me, is a lot of principles that I've taught my kids. I haven't necessarily had to show them what it looks like in actual real world use, and even so, those situations with my son, for example, my son saw mom and dad stepping up to go and address these issues with the administration, and in some cases with parents, where those conversations that they were having actually got a little bit out of hand in some of the words that were used. So he saw mom and dad say, "This is not right, and we have to." Whenever that challenge it comes our way, we have to step up and meet it. All of my kids, saw me address internally at Williams the issues that Black people have to endure living in America, regardless of your status in life, or what certificates you have behind your name, what titles you have in your name, that we all still have to endure. Where I actually led a candid conversation with the entire enterprise about this subject, and shared some very personal experiences around it to help try to bring to light and make it more, bring it more closer to home for people, that we're not just talking about this. This is really happening. It's happening to people that you know. So my kids have had the opportunity to actually see dad do that stuff, and not just talk about it on the couch in the comfort of my own home and say, hey, you need to be courageous. You need to stand up for what is right. Those things that have happened to us in the past as a people, and in some cases are still happening, we cannot afford to not fight against it. Which also led to my daughter, my 17-year-old Kaylin, taking it upon herself to say that she wanted to go to the procession and protest that took place when they brought George Floyd's body here back home to Houston. She said that not going was not an option for her. And a little bit different from Antoine's explanation, where he told his daughter, it's COVID, we're not going down there. She's younger. My daughter's 17 and a half now. She's a senior in high school. She's going to be an adult in less than 6 months. And I have to let her take on some more of those risks. She wore a mask, but she made a sign. Some of her friends went out. My wife took them down, and they did the march. And so she had an opportunity to put all those things about being an advocate in practice. And so even in light of what's going on, I think my children had a chance to really see a lot of those lessons that we've been teaching them for all these years, to put them in practice themselves and to watch their parents do it as well.
Yeah. Now, I think that's real important, because one of the mistakes that a lot of movements make is they tell people, this is what you should do. And to their benefit and to their detriment, this younger generation is full of passion. And when you have unbridled passion and you don't know what to do and how to do it, you just go out there and you make something happen. And it's not always the right call to make. And I think it's really important for them to feel their passion, but for it to be put through a process that's going to be effective and get the message across, and not come back with any.
Hey, Jason, your mic.
Mike went out.
Yeah.
Can't hear you.
Hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. I don't know what is going on. I'm rebuilding my system. Where did I cut out?
Can't be trusted.
Trust me.
You cut out of talking about helping this generation focus their energy constructively.
Yeah. So what I said after that was kind of a joke, but it was obvious that the people that stormed the Capitol did not have any guidance whatsoever on how to get their point across, or how to get stuff done without any negative backlash. But that's the topic. We talking about 2020. You said what?
Even to their own detriment.
Even to their own detriment.
Yeah.
All right, y'all.
Sure.
It's time to get to last call, because we're at that time. We about run out of time. Does anybody have any last calls? Because I got one. I want to go last, because I want mine to really, really hit home.
I'll go real quick, since we're doing a 2020 wrap up. One of the things that we didn't talk about in the 2020 wrap up was the death of Kobe Bryant and his daughter, and that relationship that they had. And me having all girls, that really, really, really struck home with me. And although I thought at the time I had a good relationship with my daughter, it made me want to work harder at that relationship. So work hard at the relationships with your kids. Be intentional about it. That's my last call.
It was a good one, sir. Thank you.
I'd say my last call, because this I feel like this is something that I could have worked in as another learning from 2020, but I think it'll work in this context as well. One of the misconceptions I had about being a parent beforehand was I've got to be right, because there's so much riding on the line, right? As we said, 2020 had a whole lot of teachable moments. One of the teachable moments, I feel, for my entire family, but the lesson may have been different, was actually the passing of my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law passed in July of 2020. It was not COVID related. But it was COVID impacted in terms of she lived in a care facility. She was battling advanced MS, multiple sclerosis, and so she needed constant care. We were blessed in terms of being able to actually see her when just before the healthcare facilities were shut down to public access, where a lot of people were not. But the long story short is, ultimately, she passed during the pandemic, during a time when the outside world was not allowed into healthcare facilities. that was one of the big, in my opinion, one of the biggest hurdles, like, the Jones household had to go through in 2020. My son had to watch his mother grieve up close, watch his older sister, who'd spent more time with their grandmother, grieve. Had to watch me fumble with what do I do, trying to hold down the household during a difficult time where I didn't necessarily know what to do, to be honest with you. The reason I'm bringing that up is the last call was, though it was a challenging time, I feel one of the lessons that my son learned was watching how a family grieves through something, moves through loss. And again, he's 11, he hasn't experienced a lot of it. However, one of the lessons I took from it was just the work that you put in with some of your elder children. You may not always see the benefit of it, but it'll come back around, like, eventually when things happen. My son's 11, my daughter is 24. She's in college. She came home when her grandmother passed, and my son is close to my daughter. So she's already been through this. When her grandfather passed in, I believe it was probably 2010. And so the lessons that she went through and having gone through all that, I think the love we poured into her at that particular point was a benefit to my son about a decade later, when he had to go through that, with his grandmother, because he was able to lean on Chelsea and take a lot of comfort from her. And at that particular time, that was important. So don't sell short the work that you're doing with your children. You may not always see it come back and bear fruit right away, but it'll bear some fruit in the times when you least expect it.
I'll make my last call real quick. All the things that you didn't do in 2020 to stop the spread of COVID, you now have a second chance to do in 2021. The numbers aren't getting better, so you still have time to go out and do everything you can to stop the spread, because the numbers are rising. Trust me.
Your wife made you say that, frontline work.
I like how he keep throwing a dig at me, saying, "Trust me, I see you."
All right, I'll go next. And I guess it's more of a public service announcement, which is take care of yourself, take care of your health. And in doing so, watch your parents and learn from them and how they deal with their health, both good and bad. And learn from your family members. You share a lot of the same genetic codes, so there are a lot of predispositions that you share. And you can learn from those around you what you should be doing to keep you from maybe having to go through some of their challenges. Super Bowl Sunday morning of 2018, my cousin Ernest Walker, God rest his soul, passed away in his sleep due to heart failure. He basically had a heart attack in his sleep. He was 34 years old, and he had really kind of picked up his efforts in trying to get his weight down, trying to be a healthier person and be in better shape. But sometimes it's too late when you do make that decision. And for him, he made that decision too late. He had already had some damage to his heart that he was actually starting to get treatment for, but as what we found out, it was too late. All right, and that really hit me close to home. He was more like a little brother than a cousin. He was a little brother to me than a cousin, and we were very close. So that really hit me hard. And up until last year, or when that happened, I really kind of fallen off as far as my health is concerned, due to actually being shut down due to injuries from a car accident that really threw me off. And so in 2020, I really made a concerted effort to do better. I bought a bike, because running just hurt too much. And when I say hurt too much, I meant like my back and my knees, not so much the actual running itself. But I bought a bike and I got into cycling to get my cardio in. I tried to do more with making adjustments to my diet. All the way leading up to right now, I'm doing a detox, eating nothing but raw fruits and vegetables. And I've only been on this detox for a week here. But last year I got my weight down 12 pounds, and my goal was to do another 12 this year. And in doing so, I've seen drastic improvements in my energy level, drastic improvements in my blood pressure. Uh, uh, my joints aren't as achy and stiff as they used to be. But I really took to watching those around me that are in my family that share similarities in genetic code from as I do, to learn from their experiences. My dad as well, who had a tough battle with COVID over the summer and had a very long, and I would say still having a very long recovery from it, who's also doing this detox with me, and watching the improvements that we're both going through from it. So we can't be good dads if we're not around.
Mm-hmm.
And even though we all know that there's an end date ahead of us in this life, we shouldn't live as if it's tomorrow. So take care of yourself, take care of your health, get your screenings, put those things that look good but aren't good to eat to the side sometimes and eat a salad. Another book I'm going to recommend is, I don't know if y'all can see it, it's called Super Life by Dan Olian. And it talks about the benefits of having a plant-based and even a raw foods diet. I'm not going to say that you should take on that lifestyle permanently, but I definitely think working in some of those aspects into more of your daily diet and routine could yield significant non-medicinal benefits.
Yeah, man. I've been trying to move in that direction, not necessarily cutting out meat, but having meat be a severely decreased part of my diet, and having raw vegetables and fruit be an increased portion of it. Are you sleeping better?
Much better, which was a big issue for me in 2018. I would say 2018 and 2019, and even I would say probably half of 2020, because I really more so ramped up the diet part toward the end. I was almost on 100, batting 1,000 for not sleeping through the night fully, and would wake up for like an hour or two. And then go back to sleep, which leads you to be tired during the day when you need to perform. My sleep has improved immensely to where I can, more often than not, I am sleeping through the night, and I'm sleeping for a longer period of time.
Okay. My last call is this. I have a lot of friends that own businesses, and I have a business, and I'm starting new businesses, and I'm realizing now that not a lot of people support their friends in their business. I have a friend whose daughter has a clothing line, and I'm constantly asking her, "Hey, do you sell men's clothes?" No. The day they start selling men's athletic clothes, that's where I'm gonna get my athletic wear from. I have a friend from high school. She has a pharmacy. I'm moving my prescriptions to their pharmacy. I really think that we need to. Somebody said something about your biggest fan is a perfect stranger, and your biggest enemy is somebody that knows you. And although that's not directly in line with what I'm talking about, I know that there are a lot of people that see me talking about my business, or see other people that they know talking about their business, and they just like, whatever. But they'll go give their money to somebody that they don't even know. And my last call is, hey, if your friend has a business, spend your money there. And because it's your friend, if they're not meeting your expectations, you have a direct line with the owner to say, this is what I'm expecting. You're not giving it to me. I want to support you, but I need you to step up in this regard. I think I cannot stress enough how important it is for us to be 100% behind our friends as they start their businesses and ventures up. Because like I said earlier, if we don't move, it don't work.